Tá? Já tá?
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth webinar of the Motorsport Institute Bioperformance Center. Today, we're going to talk about the driver performance in terms of driver coaching. We have with us two professionals from the Synergy Driver Performance, Duarte, Felix da Costa, and Gonçalo Gomes. They are very well-known driver coaches in the motorsports world. And today they will speak a little bit about the importance of being a driver coacher in terms of driver development. Thank you guys for coming, and see you after for some Q&A.
Hello, everybody. My name is Duarte, as Emiliano said. Me and Gonçalo, we are partners of Synergy. We act in 3 different areas. Driver performance, as the name, as you can see on the naming, and also 2 other areas. One is the management of racing drivers, young racing drivers, and the last but not least, driver life. We will talk through them in these 30 minutes. And I will start now with a bit of driver performance, which is actually why we are here today, and I would say the key area of this conversation. Gonçalo, let's start a little bit about why do young drivers and why every young driver needs somebody to help them, somebody to support them on the performance side.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for listening to us, guys. My name is Gonçalo, and us in Synergy, we try to help drivers to become better drivers, basically. And when you think about driver coaching, it's not only the work that we can do on track to maximize the performance of each driver. I mean, by being a driver coach, and we need to try to work in as many areas as we can to try to maximize that performance. Remember, guys, that every time you are on track, you have limited amount of track time. So we have to try to maximize your experience and your performance in that very limited time on track.
I would just to a quick thing. There's something that the majority of the drivers, or some of the drivers, they tend to get to the track and prepare only when they're there. The very important thing, and one of the most important things that we try to put and add as a must is the pre-event preparation. In Synergy, and I believe in the majority of the companies that act in this area on the performance side, and this is something that me and Gonçalo we really try to focus, is the preparation. Preparation is actually key. It's like the homework. If we do the homework properly, we will arrive to the track completely ready for all the challenges. As Gonçalo said, the track time is really short at the moment. The free practice nowadays, we only have 1 or 2 sessions, and then we go straight to qualifying. So the preparation is actually key. And when we talk about preparation, we talk about 3 things. Simulator, of course. It's very important to do the simulator, especially the good teams and the teams that are more prepared. They have good simulators. Second area, video analysis, very important as well. And third, the data analysis. This is something that we try to combine, and we put in a PowerPoint presentation with every corner by corner, trying to understand exactly what braking references, gears, apexes, turning points, all these matters.
Yeah, one of the other things I want to emphasize here, as Duarte said, it's very important to do all this pre-event preparation. And this pre-event preparation will change from driver to driver. So we'll have to personalize the work depending on the driver that we have. If we have a young driver, a professional driver, we have a certain approach, which will involve lots of sim, data analysis, and lots of specific work. And if we have a gentleman driver, we have to have a different approach. We'll probably try to make his life much, or her life much easier when he gets on track. So we probably will work more on seeing, trying to know the track, trying to understand what he wants to do in terms of strategies and things like that, to try to maximize his track time and to adapt the strategy for each driver.
Yeah, so we talk a bit about the preparation, which is key again, as we said. Now, the second stage of a race weekend, let's put it this way. So we have the preparation, simulator, analysis, video analysis, and the data analysis. When we are on the track, mandatory is obviously a track walk. And when we talk about the track walk, in the majority of the times, it's quite funny because at Synergy, we tend to be the slowest on the track, on the track walk. And when I mean the slowest, it's because we try to analyze every single detail, all the bumpings, all the small details, the curbs, everything matters. Because when we, again, and as Gonçalo said, track time is really small nowadays, and we need to optimize. And when we go to the track, to know exactly the things that we are not ready and to see them when we are in the simulator, but in real life, we need to make sure that on this track walk, we notice all the single details. So this is very important, the track walk, and it's the second stage of a preparation of a race weekend.
Also, I would like to getting a little bit into what we do before the weekend and as we getting into the weekend as well. One of the things that we try to do is to take everything, all the pressure away from the driver as well. So that will get us into the sort of a third part of our job, which is the driver life. We try to make sure the driver have less worries, I would say. So we try to, within our race prep, we'll try to send him as much information as we can regarding everything in terms of what he's got to do during the weekend. So if he has any event to attend, if he has any sort of sponsors attending to the meeting, travel support will help. His daily routines, basically, it's very important for the driver to have less things to worry and focus more on the driving side, which is our main goal during the weekend.
Sure, that's really something important. Let's go a little bit through the presentation. Again, we are just a group of friends, me and Gonçalo, that we used to race. And we get to a stage of our career where we start helping young drivers. And when I talk about helping young drivers, we don't teach them how to drive, because the drivers know how to drive. We just maximize their talent. We just try to optimize and really fine-tuning on their talent. So biggest target, number one, turn racing drivers into professional racing drivers. This is basically a chart where we talk about our focus. So it's number one, definitely increase driver performance. As Gonçalo said, we know we know that it's very important and it's key, the preparation. It's also very important when we get to the track walk. And then also something very, very important. During every session, we need to make sure that we go straight to the points, and that the points that are not perfect. If the driver has a problem, for example, on slow speed corners, on braking, or on high speed corners, we need to straight away analyze and investigate why, if it's a problem on the car, or if it's the driver that it's not maximizing at that level. And it's very important to take one, two, or 3 points and work on these points. Point number two, it's obviously be ready for opportunities. Here is a bit more the management side, but it's also important because when we are in the race weekend, we cannot be only focused on results. I mean, it's obviously the most important thing, but also we need to as a performance and management company, we need to be searching and looking for opportunities. Because in the end of the day, point number 3, the target is to make a career in motorsport and stop being a paying driver. What's a paying driver? I mean, the majority of you guys here, we all know that on the beginning of a career, the driver needs to pay. Needs to pay to the team to get the service. It happens with all the drivers, starting at Ayrton Senna and finishing on all the drivers that you can imagine. Then you get to a point where you need to make sure that you choose the right teams, and this is why we are here to support the drivers with choosing the right teams, negotiating the contracts with the right teams, and making sure that we have the right tool to fight for the championship or for the best positions on the championship. So this is very critical, very important, especially fathers and investors. They tend to ask, why do I need somebody if I can just ring my phone and ask the team? The difference is because we work on motorsport since a long time, and the connection and the relation with the best teams on the paddock, it's very, very difficult to go in the right door. So I don't know if you agree completely with me, Gonzalo, but definitely it's very important to have the target. What are you going to do? F4 or F3 or whatever category, and then the next, what's our future? What's the target? What's our route? Either if it's to F1 or to touring cars or to GTs or to prototypes, whatever. But to have a route, it's a key.
Yeah, just to add 2 small things to what you said, and these 3 very, very, very important points that you mentioned. I think it's critical, and I just want to give a little bit more detail in 2 things. First of all, is what you said, which for me is one of the key issues and the key things to have a good driver coach and a complete driver coach, which is not just focus on what you do on track. It's basically when I said to take all the worries from a driver, and that is one of the key things. So if you are during the race weekend, you have to have someone that is not just focused on your performance, is helping you in your performance, obviously, but is worried about everything else around you. So taking their worries from you. And I'm going to try to explain very quickly. If you're a racing driver during the weekend, I want you to be 100% focused on what you're doing. So you don't need to be thinking, I need to go there now to please my sponsor, or I need to go there to please my fans. I want you to be focused on this, and I would worry, and Synergy will worry when you have to go to the fan, when you have to go to the sponsor, and what you have to do at each time. Yeah, very important thing when you said about like highlighting the main problem of a driver during the weekend, during a session. We will also help the driver, because sometimes when you're missing something on low speed corners or high speed corners, sometimes you know what it is, you just don't know how to explain to your engineer. And that's one of the key things that we are doing there, which is trying to do the link from the driver to the engineer and make it as simple as you can to help develop the skills of a racing driver as well.
Yeah, we try to work in a line: racing driver, driver coach, race engineer. It's very important. We are here to help, and we don't try to, our target is never to try and to create any type of problems between driver and engineer. It's the opposite. Sometimes racing drivers or race engineers, they know exactly what to do setting up a car, but they never been inside a racing car. And on the other side, racing drivers, they know exactly how to drive a racing car, but they don't have a lot at the beginning of their career. They are not experts explaining and trying to know exactly, technically speaking, what is the problem on the car. So our job, a lot of times, is to try and combine our experience being in a racing car with our experience understanding the needs of the driver, and obviously try to connect the as best as possible the racing driver with the engineer. So this is for us is a big motivation to keep racing driver race engineer and ourselves as a team. We are a team, and we need to work as a team. It's something that we try to work a lot on this, and 90% of the times it works really well. So we try, and it's very interesting, especially on Formula 4 and Formula 3 drivers when they are on the beginning of their careers in single seaters, to see how they act on the beginning of the season and how they act on the end of the season. When they are much more mature, they know much better how to explain some kind of problem, or especially the needs that they need. What do they need to go faster? And it's, for us, it's really what makes us work hard and hard and hard on this difficult world of motorsport, for sure.
Yeah. Just one small thing again, and this is I never get tired of saying this. All this work depends on the type of drivers that we have, and we have to personalize the work for a professional driver or a different sort of driver, or a gentleman driver that needs specific work. So all this, the main thing is we take the worries out of a racing driver. We'll try to empathize what the driver needs, and we'll try to maximize driver performance depending on the driver skills, depending on the driver mood and mindset as well.
Moving to the next slide, obviously the questions that everybody make. And this is our job, basically. And this slide is especially for parents or investors or sponsors, or who's backing up the beginning of the career of the racing drivers, which in 90% of the cases is obviously the family. It has to be a family investment. But in other cases, it can actually be investors. So question number one: how can I stop paying? This is actually what we were talking before. We need to make sure on the beginning of the season that whatever category the racing driver is racing, we are succeeding. So our experience tells us that it's not really what we are trying to try and save 10% of the budget in going to an average team. It's definitely not what we are looking. So we try to go to the best teams, negotiate with the best teams, and try to make the route on the best teams. This is key, because if a racing driver succeeds on F4, F3, his career is done. Either if it's going to F1 because he has the potential and the investment backing him, or not, but he will have a successful career in motorsport, and this is the most important thing. So this is question number one, and actually what we try to do as fast as possible. How do I get sponsors or manufacturers? Again, sponsors is obviously a key area, and we need to succeed again and make sure that the drivers are an attractive product. But the manufacturers is where we act. The connection with the manufacturers, it's what we try to bring to our clients and to racing drivers. So as soon as we see that there's potential, a real potential, try to connect them with, or try to have at least a small conversation and start swimming into the decisions and to the people that actually decide behind the manufacturers. Gonzalo, you want to continue?
Yeah, I just want to add something really, really quickly, because I think it's something really important for, when you said, when we're talking about like dealing with a team or trying to find the best solution for a driver and where to put a driver in each team, or what class, or sometimes we do something which helps a lot the drivers, and both of us have that experience as well, and I think it's a key issue. And normally, if you are just dealing with your father or someone very close to you dealing with a team, you are very, how can I say, it's like, you cannot be totally impartial on this, so you cannot make a perfect judgment. Sometimes you need someone outside your little bubble and to make the right decisions for you, to have a cool approach to this, to have a completely unspoiled approach to what you're doing and where you want to go in the future. And sometimes you, as a father, and I'm a father, I know what I'm saying, sometimes you want the best for your son or for your daughter, and you don't do the best decision because you only see the best for him right now. And we can try sometimes to just make the whole picture and not just the small picture. And that, I think, is a key issue of what we do as well.
Sure. So again, and this slide is really for parents and investors, and our job is to be basically the easiest way to get to get the young driver or your son or your driver professional as soon as possible. We know it's not easy. It's a very tough world. Motorsport, it's a very tough world. So it's a bit like if we are in a swimming pool with a lot of sharks, and we need to make sure that we grow up as fast as possible, because it's what it is. The losing 1 year or trying to for example, a lot of drivers, I'm going to do 1 year just learning year in this category. There's no learning years. Obviously, every year we learn for sure, but there's no time nowadays for learning years. We need to make sure that when we go to a category, we did testing already, we did preparation, the team is the right team, the engineer is the right engineer. There's not just the team, but the engineer is the right engineer. So the combination of all these key factors will make the successful year and career for the driver. So after karting, the 3, 4, 5 years after are crucial. And we see a lot of F1 drivers. Obviously, let's not just talk about Leclerc and Verstappen. These guys are obviously massive talents, and they needed only 2 or 3 years or 4 years to get into F1. But the normal case is a racing driver that he 1, 2, 3, 4 years, and after 4 or 5 years, if he's not already on the door or in Formula 2 and already showing himself, it's because something was not done properly. So really, and my experience as a racing driver to help, especially my brother, not committing the same mistakes, is really don't look at cheap teams, don't look at average teams. We need to go always for the best teams, for the top teams, because of results. But point number 2, and the most important one, because you will learn much more in a good team with a good engineer than working with an average team, let's put it this way. Next slide. Again, for drivers, what we try to help them, it's performance, number 1, of course. We already talk about this, but also look after all the small things, the distractions that actually, when you are, it's such a big environment nowadays to have. It's the team, the obviously training, which normally we try to recommend the people that we know that work well. For example, Emiliano is normally a recommendation that we do, because it's not our job, but we try to recommend each of these areas. The media agency, we try to recommend the best people that work on this area. Obviously the team, every single area, we try to not just recommend, but also make a kind of a bridge, because it's racing drivers in the beginning of their careers. They don't really know what to do, what I'm going to do, who am I going to train. I have a problem, where I'm going to buy my helmet, how I'm going to travel to Oschersleben or to Silverstone. It's a lot of small things that might look very simple, but in the end of the day, they're not. And we are here to try and just make all this side of motorsport, this extra bit, simple, so that the driver can focus on driving, which is the main area.
Just on this driver side as well, just to add one very small thing. which is when we're talking about like making the driver a better driver, and it's also trying to make the driver a better driver outside his car. I mean, we need to try to make, and mainly young kids, we need to try to tell them how to talk to the press. We need to try to tell them what is wrong, if something is wrong with his personality, because when you are a racing driver and if you want to be one of the best, you need to be outgoing without being too much. You cannot be too shy. You need to know how to talk to the team. You need to be the favorite within the team. Remember that, like, your teammate is always the first one to beat. So you want to be the best within your team. And for that, this is also our work, to make sure the driver, when he gets to the team, goes and say hello to everyone, and they memorize the name of each one of the mechanics or the engineers. So know how to talk and exactly what to say to the press. So all these small things are part of the driver performance coach that we do on track and off track as well.
And again, not trying to make any kind of publicity to our job, because it's not the target of this webinar. We are here to talk about driver performance and management, and a lot of companies work on this area. But there's a big difference on some companies to others, what we try to do at Synergy is really not have more than 4 or 5 drivers a year. This is our maximum. And why is this? Two big points. Racing drivers are our friends, almost like my family. I try to talk with them every day, know if they're okay, if there's a problem either with the school or with the family or with the girlfriend. I mean, we know that young drivers, they have a lot of things on their head. And I remember when I was a racing driver in the early stages, sometimes what I really needed, obviously the on-track performance and the pure performance is very important, as Gonçalo said, but also all these distractions. If the girlfriend, or if there's a party in Ibiza and my friends are talking about that, and I need to focus, but how can I focus if I'm my head? I mean, and I would actually, this is actually something that Emiliano can explain a lot better, but the mental side, it's very important. And again, combination of and now talking a bit about pure performance of the racing driver, mental side, Emiliano can talk a bit more about this, and our job, understanding the needs, because we've been inside of a racing car. It's why it's something that we, in our view, we can add a lot to racing drivers. So it's definitely very important to have somebody that have been on the same page of these kids, because they are kids in the end of the day. Moving to the next one, Gonçalo. So again, I mean, we try to with our connections that we've been luckily growing our networking in the last few years. When we see that there's really driver talent, we try to present and to introduce our drivers to young driver programs, team managers, team principals, of basically the people that can influence the racing drivers' careers. Obviously, now we are talking a bit more about management. I would say that in Synergy, I am the guy more focused a bit, I would say, in the management side, and Gonçalo more in the coachings, in the pure performance. We obviously connect our side, both. And sometimes Gonçalo goes to race weekends, sometimes I go to race weekends. We obviously do both things, but on off track, this is what we try to do a lot, trying to make sure that, for example, for instance, we are now already working on 2021 in terms of management. Racing seasons, unfortunately, are not running this year at the moment, but they will start luckily on July, end of June, July. But even forgetting about this coronavirus problem, we at this stage, normally in May, June, we are already looking with options for 2021. And with our drivers, there's already a route for next year, what to do.
Yeah, just adding a small detail and giving like an insight of what happened just not long ago, and I think that is something to show a little bit how involved we are in everything, but not just the driving side. Like we were, one of our drivers is doing the Porsche Super Cup in the US, and we were in St. Petersburg for the first race of the Porsche Super Cup US during the beginning of this the pandemic problem that we had, which means...
Yeah, we can talk about the name of the driver, Rhys Barr from Ireland, and definitely a really young potential driver.
Yeah, just to give a little bit of a story, which I think it shows a little bit our work as well. So we had to decide, like, on site what to do in the next couple of months, as we were dealing with borders being closed and races being cancelled. So we had a serious conversation with his father, trying to understand what was best for the driver, and for the driver as a human being as well, not just for the driver as a sportsman. So it was really important for us to help this decision. Again, we were looking from the outside, not as a father, which would probably have a different sort of approach to the problem. So all this is part of our job as well, trying to make the decisions and help to make the decisions to have the best possible driver and the best possible mindset for the driver.
Yeah. Obviously, half an hour talking when we like what we do already passed, so we are almost finishing. Thank you guys all. Just really quick last slide about what our 5 points, driver performance, we already talked about them. Race team actions, obviously choosing the right team, the relation with the team, making sure that everything is on spot. The marketing side, again, there's a lot of areas that we don't work directly on these matters, but we try to bring the good people that we know work on motorsport. Again, as Emiliano, we always recommend the people that we know that they work properly. And the career planning, again, it's as I said, we are already working with our drivers for 2021. So thank you guys for all. This is a bit what we do, and I hope you guys enjoyed.
Thank you, Gonçalo. Thank you, Duarte. Maybe we can start from now some questions that I have here for you guys, and that they are being asked in the Q&A. The first one is, how many years does it take to start a guy with 0 kilometers in competition until he has the pace to not be in last in professional GT competition?
Yeah, well, I will start with this one. I would say that it's again, we cannot buy talent. Talent, either you have it or not. What we can, it's maximize talent. That's for sure. And I think hard work. When you have average talent, hard work can really help you. So more than the number of testing days that you do, I would say that racing drivers that really work hard and really put their efforts into what they're doing, after go-karting, I think with 2 or 3 years, we can really be in a position to be professional. So either in GTs, touring cars, or single-seaters, if we do 2 or 3 really good seasons, and with the right teams, right resources, with the right people behind you, you will be ready to turn yourself into a racing professional driver. I mean, we all know that manufacturers, they need young drivers, and it's not like 10 years ago where GTs you would be 30 or 28. Now with 21 or 22 years old, you are ready to go and fit perfectly into a manufacturer.
Gonçalo, do you want to take an opinion on this one?
Well, yeah, basically that's it. It depends on lots of different things. Depends on the budget that you have as well, because obviously more you train, more you test, better you will do. So, I mean, how many years, it's always a very difficult question to answer, because it depends on the raw talent that the driver can have, depends on the budget, how big the driver is bringing to test more or less. So, I mean, the only thing that we can do with that is maximize his natural talent and trying to point in the right direction. I mean, trying to shortcut as much as we can with our experience, putting the driver in the right team, making sure he tests as much as he can, and trying to maximize his natural talent. It depends from driver to driver, basically.
I have another question for you guys. How do you face drivers with their own mistakes or lack of skills?
How do you
face the drivers with their own mistakes or the lack of skills? How do you face them? How do you deal
I can
with
start
them?
that. Basically, the first thing is to have a positive attitude. And by positive attitude, I'm not saying you're not going to be hard with the driver, but by positive, I mean, we always have to learn with every mistake we do. So it can be a very bad mistake, or due to lack of skill, or a mistake because it was not focused enough, or because it was just a mistake. But it's important to think about what happened in a positive way and try to get the best out of it. I mean, trying to understand why it happened, try to really focus on that for a moment, and then put it behind the back and make sure that the same mistake doesn't happen again.
Okay. And what do you think can be more hard to achieve? A great mental strength or a great physical condition?
I mean, this is a question also for you, Emil. No, but I would say
for sure the mental.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, we all know that racing drivers, they think they are undestroyable. They think that they are all the best in the beginning of the season. But I think the hard thing, and we all pass through this, either inside or on the outside, is when things don't go on their way. If things are going in a negative way because of the team or the car or the driver or mistakes or whatever reason, the first few races don't go as best as possible, or as expected, especially as expected. This is how, in my opinion, and this is how your work, Emil, combined with our work, because it's very important to make sure that the mental side is strong, but also you keep working on the same way. Keep working. Sometimes parents ask me, so what are we going to do now? I mean, we finished P14 and we need to win the championship. First of all, we need to keep working as always, hard, and don't learn from the mistakes, learn from the previous races, and know exactly what not to do for the future. But especially rule number one, keep working harder than ever. So I think hard work again, and I know I'm repeating, but hard work really beats talent when talent doesn't work hard, definitely.
Of course, and trust the path is the most important thing that in life to succeed. It's trusting the path, and when you're doing things properly with people that already won or people that knows how to win things, it's getting easier, and it's easier for sure when you have winners around you. And this is something that makes all the sense. When you are a coaching driver, which are the factors you look at to know how good you will be in the future, besides driving skills? Oh, which factors do you look at when you know how it's going to be in the future?
Okay, I will start on this one. I mean, obviously our experience looking at a video or a data comparison between drivers. I mean, I need one or 2 minutes to see straight away, number one, where are the problems, but mainly number two, if the driver really has talent, or because sometimes the type of problems can tell us that really there's talent there, and the type of work is just getting the driver more mature. Other times we can straight away see that there's a problem of talent, so we need to work hard on different things. A lot of drivers have I mean, I've worked with racing drivers. Like I put them in a race car and they go 2 laps and they are P1 straight away. But after they stabilize, they stop improving, and this is and other drivers they start really slowly, but they always improve every time that they go on the car. So to keep improving and to make sure that every time that I tell them, for example, okay, we need to go 10 bars more on braking, on strong braking, and the drivers that do this in 10 laps or in 2 laps, so the way that they react to what we analyze and investigate that we need to do is definitely something important. And for us is I would say that very, very motivated to work with drivers that once we tell them to do something, they really put that into practical. So it's I would say that it's one of the key areas, how quick you react and do you act what we need to do.
Can I just add 2 small things to answer the question as well? And because he was asked, I don't know who made the question, but was asking, apart from the driving skills, I think personality is super important, the driver to have the right personality and hardworking. So if a driver is 100% focused, his mindset is to become a racing driver. So personality is super important as well, not to be too shy, but not to be too outgoing as well, and willing to work. I mean, there's 2 things aside from obviously the driving skills that we look, and that is super important to become a racing driver, a good one at least.
I have 2 questions here, and then they come together. Thank you for your answer on that one. How is your integration inside the team with the engineers? Are they positive about you coming along? And how do you address a bad relationship between the driver and the race engineer?
There's 2 different type of works that we do. Sometimes we work for drivers, which is the reason why we are here. When we work for drivers, we need to be very smart and always give trust to the team that we are not there to collect data or collect videos. We are there to work properly, directly with the team to optimize the driver's results. So we are all on the same boat. But I must tell you, and I must be fair with you, that it's obviously not easy with some teams to enter because they see you sometimes as enemies. But we need to be always clever and very smart on the way we do it, because we had cases that we started with a really strange relation, but after a few races we are perfectly fit into the team. So it's very important to fit into the team and make everybody understand that we are a team. We are part of the team, and we are here to help, to produce, and to be positive. Second point, there are situations where we work to the teams, especially on GTs, on endurances, on long race distance races. And in these cases, we are part of the team directly from the beginning, so no issues about that. And it's different when we work to drivers or to teams, definitely. Leave it to you, Gonçalo. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And I mean, sometimes the most professional teams are the ones that understand better this relation and what we are there to do, because they totally understand what they're doing. They trust what they're doing. They know that they are good as a team. They know that the driver is there to do his job. And as a good professional team, know that the driver coach is there to help and to be the link and the bridge between the driver and the engineer and the team. So we're not there to make a problem or to create a problem to the team. We're there to help the driver to become a better driver. And to become a better driver, obviously, need to have a good relation with the team. So, I mean, more professional is the team, easier it is this first approach and to receive the driver coach as, well, to understand the driver coach as part of the team. If it's a small team that normally it's not used to this, needs a couple of test days or races to understand, oh, they are here and they can be a good tool for us to improve as well. So normally the end result is really good. It depends being a very good team, a professional team, or a small team, depends on the time that they take to get to understand the importance.
If you guys allow me, I can testify something, because sometimes the issue here is the feedback that the driver needs to give back to the engineer and back to the team. So there's one thing is driver performance in terms of driving. The other thing is the feedback he gives back, and the engineer needs to be worried about understanding the driver and understanding his feedback and everything that is correlated with his driving, and pass through that to building up a setup or building up a strategy and all this. And I see that normally the driver coach, he helps a lot to create this bonding between the race engineer and the driver, and because he knows very well the driver there, but he can also see the backside of the part when he's driving. He's also inside of the box. He's seeing from behind all the scene, like a race director. He's seeing everything from above. It's more easy to understand the lack of points, or the points that need to be worked a little bit more. So it really helps the driver to get along and get better with the team, and most of the times.
And there's one point. My view of life is that we can only stop learning when we die. So I will always learn from drivers. I will always learn from engineers, and I hope that they learn from us. And together we minimize the learning curve. I mean, it's again, and as we said, we don't have time nowadays. The problem is time. I remember when I stepped from karting into single seaters, I was 18 and I was young. Now you need to step earlier and you need to be more ready. So there's no time. The problem is definitely the time. I would say that the Max Verstappen was a bit who put this scale smaller when he came into F1 with 17 years old, of course. And this kind of, I would say it's a bit of Max fashion style, but it works. It's what it is. So we cannot afford to have a driver 2 or 3 years, especially 3 years in the same category. And if the right attitude, as Gonçalo said, if the driver has the right attitude to learn and to listen and to never think that he knows already everything, and if the engineer is the same, or the team, I would say, and as well, we as Synergy, together, we will be stronger for sure. And again, also with the physio, with the mental part, if all together, we will build a very strong machine that can be very difficult to beat. This is my meaning of my feeling of how we can create a structure that will be very tough to destroy.
Okay, well, two last final questions, because we are getting short in time. So the first one is, what is the importance of psychological factors in the final result, and how you see visualization as a part of it? What
Well, I mean, again, you know how important the psychological side of the driver is, how important it is. Like not only in motorsport, but in every sport, the psychological part is super important. It's something that we can work ourselves in some areas, like trying to take the worries out of a driver when he's during the race weekend. But like having a physio trainer or a good one, someone like you helping on the psychological side, it's super important as well. So we know what we need to do to take some worries out of the driver on a racetrack, but there's lots of work to be done to create a strong mindset to the driver away from the track as well. So that's not our job directly, but we know how to direct the driver to someone that will create a stronger sportsman.
The one more question. How do you handle when the team is not performing as it should? Is the coach the one that talks about that with the team, or is someone else?
Sorry, Emil, I had my kid here. Sorry, need to repeat.
No problem. How do you handle when the team is not performing as it should? Is the coach the one that he talks about it with the team, or is someone else?
Well, I think we try to never be aggressive. I mean, the problem is if there's a problem on the team or even on the driver or whatever, The main target is to identify the problem and all together make sure that we solve it. I mean, with the teams, we keep constant contact with them regarding performance, regarding testing plan, regarding how is the work going, especially now at this moment of the coronavirus. We have a program created for drivers that they can work in their sims directly with the teams, and with some cases, not all of them. I mean, there's cases that it's not possible, but our drivers, they have the opportunity to keep working and progressing with the teams. So we as performance and management, we try as much as possible to have a close relation with the team, and especially a consistent and constant being in constant contact with them, not just for the bad things but also for the good things. I mean, for instance, there's teams that I consider them almost my friends. I mean, my daughter was born last week, and I've received a lot of calls from teams, from team principals, and this is the type of relation that we try to create with teams. I mean, we are friends. We are here to help, and if there's a problem, we need to tell that there's the problem. But it depends again, and as Gonçalo said, on the attitude, the way you tell the problem. We are not trying to create problems. We are trying to find the problem, identify them, and solve it. So it's obviously our job to talk to the team, and to always make sure to react as fast as possible to the problems, but always in a positive mood.
Just to add something there, and regarding the driver as well, obviously we are kind of we are in the process of helping to choose the team as well. So it's also a bit of our responsibility that if the team is not performing as well as it should. So it's our responsibility as well to try to identify the problem with the team and try to help the team to perform as well as best as they can. Obviously, it's not good to change the team halfway through the season. It's not good for the team. It's not good for the driver, even if they're not performing. So we need to try to help the team as much as we can to sort of deal with the problem, identify the problem, and talk to the team as well. Also, in this process, we need to try to make it in a way that we don't add pressure to the driver. So sometimes we need to be a little bit more hard with the team, and but obviously they need to understand, and we have to do it in a way that they understand that we are working with them and not against them. So we're all a team. We don't want to split halfway through the season. So we want to, even if we don't start the season well, we want to get as best as we can, as soon as we can. So we need to try to identify the problem, deal with it as soon as we can, and try to get better.
Okay, guys, I think it's it. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for this wonderful moment. It was short, and for sure there's lots of more things to talk about it, but I think people got a little understanding about the driving coaching. Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Thank you, Emil, and congratulations about the project, about MSI, and really good luck for the future. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emil. Thank you.
Bye.